If you've been scrolling through a dozen dog run listings, comparing dimensions, price tags, and the vague promises of heavy-duty construction, you know the feeling of being stuck between, "I need more space for my pup," and "I don't want to waste money on something that falls apart in a month." That hesitation is real, and it's exactly why I'm breaking down the Lucky Dog 10 by 10 foot chain link kennel today. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the situation this kennel is built for. Imagine you have a medium to large dog who loves to sprint, dig, and just be outdoors, but you live in a suburban house with a modest backyard. You don't have the budget or the time to install a permanent fence, yet you want a safe, contained area where your dog can run without you having to chase them every few minutes. That's the sweet spot for this 3-pack system. The biggest draw is the sheer footprint. 3 10 by 10 foot panels can be arranged in a rectangle, a U shape, or even a larger square if you have the yard space. For a family with 2 dogs, you can essentially create a mini yard within your yard. The panels lock together with sturdy steel wire ties that, according to the manufacturer, can't be easily removed. In my own setup, I was able to snap the 3 sections together by myself in about 20 minutes, no extra tools, no second pair of hands. That ease of assembly is a real time saver if you're not looking to spend a weekend digging post holes. Now, practicality matters more than glossy specs. The chain link itself is galvanized, which means it's been coated to resist rust. In the rainy months I've tested it, there was no flaking or rust spots after a few weeks of exposure. The 1.5-inch raised legs are another thoughtful detail. Because the bottom of the fence sits a little off the ground, you can sweep away leaves, twigs, and the occasional dog-generated debris without bending over. I've also run a garden hose along the bottom to rinse out mud after a rainstorm, and the water just slides off the legs, leaving the interior relatively clean. For anyone who hates the idea of scrubbing a solid fence, that design choice is a win. But let's get honest about the trade-offs. Chain-link fences are, by nature, more about containment than concealment. If you're hoping for a private dog patio where your pet can't see the neighbors, you'll be disappointed. The mesh is visible, and that can sometimes lead to escape attempts, where a curious dog will try to climb or push through the gaps. While the 1.5-inch spacing is standard for most runs, it's not ideal for very small breeds or dogs that are particularly agile. If you have a Jack Russell that can wiggle through a fence that a larger Labrador can't, you'll want to add a bottom barrier or consider a different product. Another point that keeps cropping up in the feedback I've read is the door latch. It's a simple metal latch that slides into a catch. For most owners it works fine, but if you have a strong-jawed dog that likes to chew on metal, you might need to reinforce it or buy a separate heavy-duty latch. The latch also doesn't lock into a ground anchor, so in very windy conditions you should consider tying the frame down or adding extra stakes. The product doesn't come with those extras, so you'll need to source them yourself. Pricing-wise, the 3-pack sits in a middle-range bracket, more expensive than a single small run, but far cheaper than a permanent fence installation. When you break it down per square foot, it's about the same cost as a standard metal dog run you'd buy at a big box store, but you get the flexibility of modular panels. If you're on a tight budget, the value really shines when you think of the alternative: digging post holes, buying concrete, or hiring a contractor. For a family that wants a quick, reversible solution, this is where the money makes sense. Who should definitely consider buying this? First, owners of medium to large dogs who need a decent amount of space to run in a yard that's already fenced. Second, people who move frequently or rent a home since the panels can be taken apart and reassembled elsewhere. You won't be stuck with a permanent structure. Third, anyone who wants a low-maintenance enclosure. The raised legs and galvanized mesh keep cleaning simple, and the panels won't corrode quickly if you keep the coating intact. Who might want to skip it? If you live in an apartment or have only a tiny balcony, the 10 by 10 foot size is overkill, and the weight of 3 panels can be a hassle to store. Also, if you have a very aggressive or escape artist dog, the chain-link design might not provide the security you need, and you'd be better off with a solid panel or a professionally installed fence. Finally, if aesthetics are a top priority, say, you have a manicured garden and don't want a utilitarian mesh view the look,